Good. Hi.
Hi, Mayor, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing fantastic.
Here we go. We got mechanics on the line.
How are you?
¿Cómo le va?
Not there yet.
Ahí la llevamos.
Joder,
I was, I was eating lunch in the car, so I'm like, got my lunch all over me.
Hello.
How are you?
How are you?
Good.
We're getting a new guy, it's another story itself. But Paul can't do it. Can't have the strength to do it. So I'm having to do all that. So I'm like, Paul, I'm not ready for this. So I'll get up early and I'm doing all this. And then I wanted my carpet shampoo.
It's going to be online, Adam.
And so
The audit for presentation, so she's online now. She's going to come.
and I know he probably we ordered it. We ordered it. I just haven't had time. And I said, I'm reading this. I'll go, you know what?
Well, that's all we can do. We'll figure it out.
she's only on for that first hour.
Okay. Trustee Powie, can you hear us? Trustee Powie with 4? Trustee Powie, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. I'm sorry.
Oh, there we go.
I'm a little flustered. I just got off the phone. I had $9,000 in charges put on one of my credit cards that were not mine.
Oh, oh.
From my nursing. All the time. I don't know how they get them, but they get them.
I sometimes think they just play with numbers and whatever hits.
Well, anyway, I mean, they'll be canceled, and I've been through the fraud thing and all, but that's just, it's crazy.
Go through that.
We do. And it was like, on one day, they put through almost 9,000. Finally, they stopped accepting them. I think the credit card company figured something was awry. My agenda and all of that in just a second.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to get started here because I believe we have enough for to start the meeting here because I'm also on the time crunch. Where am I? Ooh. Hold on. I'm over here. All right.
Yeah.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this regular meeting of the South Central Regional Transit District. Today is March 22nd, 2023. It is 1:34 p.m. This session is now in order. If you can please rise and join us for the pledge. Councilor Gandara, if you can lead us, please. The United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And the counselor is filling in for Counselor Flores.
Yes.
We have Mayor Murillo also present. All right, may I have a roll call, please?
Javier Perea,
Present.
Nora Barraza,
Here?
Meiji Powie,
Here.
Cassandra Gandara,
Here.
Manny Sanchez is absent, Diana Murillo is here. Present. Robert Martinez. Mr. Martinez, can you hear us, please? Well, he's not responding, but we can see.
Well,
that
he's got his mic turned off.
There we go. So he is here. You have a
Yeah, how
quorum.
about now? Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, sir.
Awesome.
Fantastic, welcome. All right, so we do have a quorum. We'll go on to item number 4, under approval of the agenda. At this moment, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda order.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, Nora Barraza, make a motion to approve the agenda.
I have a motion on the floor made by Mayor Barraza. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Mayor Murillo. Discussion on the agenda order? Seeing and hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Abstentions. Motion carries unanimously. The agenda order has been approved. Item number 5, public input. Any public input for today? All right, seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to item number 6, approval of SCRTD meeting minutes of January 25th, 2023.
Mr. Chair,
Madam Mayor?
Nora Barraza, making a motion to approve the minutes of January 25th, 2023.
I have a motion on the floor made by Mayor Barraza. Is there a second?
Second, Gandara.
Motion has been seconded by Councilor Gandara. Any discussion on the minutes? Discussion on the minutes? No? Oh. All right, seeing and hearing none, I have a motion on the floor has been seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed say nay. Abstentions. Motion carries unanimously. The minutes for January 25th, 2023 have been approved. Item number 7, Executive Director's Report.
Love it when the plan comes together, so that looks good. Well, good afternoon. For the record, I'm David Armijo, the Executive Director of the SCRTD Board Group. All right, so I want to just do a few items. We did send this out with a package, so you might have had a chance to look at it. Some of this kind of reinforces a little bit what we're going to talk about today. So just as an overview, the MPO gave us 3 CMAQ grants in the last month, totaling over $5.5 million. We'll talk about that today, and there's a resolution for you all to approve. We've also been asked to participate. I've brought this up before. There's a feasibility study and alternative analysis in the El Paso regional area that's focused on fare structure and trying to do this equally for all of us, but also looking at a payment system in which we might be able to find a way to do something where we pay off the bus. And I know Adam Shea is very happy about that because that way you can see the money coming in on a daily basis. So that would make a difference. Then we'll talk a little bit about the implementation of our zero emission fleet plan today. We've got some discussion on an item on the charging station equipment, a little bit about the project team and timeline. So all that's kind of working together. And also talk about other things for passenger amenities, shelters, and so on. And then, of course, we have some new buses coming in April. So a lot to talk about, and we'll do it briefly. We had a conference up in Albuquerque this week, Monday and Tuesday. And in fact, I brought back an award that we have here. This was not on the agenda, but I guess I'll just work it into it. So I sent the information out to most of the board members. So the award is for best transit system in the state of New Mexico for the 5311 rural services. So it's great to see that now after 7 years, we've actually reached the point where we're being recognized. This is the first time they've given this award. They gave an award for the 5310, which is seniors and disabled, and that actually went to Trusco. So it was amazing that in the state of New Mexico, the 2 awards came to 2 agencies here in the Doñana and Las Cruces area. So it's kind of really nice to see that. They had an expo, and so they had buses. So I actually got to ride on this bus, which we have 2 on order that we hope to get before the end of the year. But more importantly on the slide is that we did get congestion air quality grants. We were the only grantee submittal for 2023. They had to step back and do a second order. And again, we were the only grantee. And so the question is, well, how is that? Well, the reality is those funds, congestion mitigation funds, are only available for New Mexico programs and projects in the New Mexico service area, which is governed in the El Paso metropolitan area, which includes Anthony, New Mexico, Chaparral, New Mexico, unincorporated areas of Doñana County, Sunland Park, and Santa Teresa. So we're the only ones providing services out there. So these funds have been available, and for a number of years when Sunland Park was under contract, the city of El Paso was grabbing these funds. So it's nice to know someday there'll be another operator. I'm sure we may be the only one competing. So to date, we got our hybrid electric buses back in 2019 from this fund. This year, it's spread out over a 3-year period. So that was about 1.8 million, and somebody has to do the math real quick, but we picked up 5.5 million on top of that. So that brings us, I think, 7.3 million. And then now we're getting a 5307, which is 696 for this last year and 711 in the coming year. That's another 1.5. I think it's like $8 million. So this is really a paradigm shift for the company. Now, what this now does, and we'll talk about this next month as we get to the budget, is it's allowing us to move money around in a way that's freeing up money to go north. I did make a request this past week to the state, still pushing hard to get money for Sierra County, but I'm going to talk about a little bit later. We are going to have vehicles. So we're now in a situation where we could pay for that, but we hope that we'll be able to get some additional funding from the state to offset that. So we'll talk more about that as we go into the budget process. So very interesting. The other thing that's really important to note is, and this is what keeps Adam up at night, is the local match. So the local match for this is not the normal 80-20 that we talk about or 50-50 for operating. It's 10%. So it's 90-10 because these are air quality. And we can thank the Infrastructure Act that got passed in the last 2 years by the Biden administration. That changed that ruling, and that's saving us 50 cents on the dollar for what we have to come up with. So the feasibility study is a service area. I've talked a little bit about this. We hope to have more information that's going on. We're also working with the state right now, and they're doing something similar for the entire state. But it does show the service area. So as I was describing before, if you look at this map, the blue area on the outer core kind of grabs what the MPO service boundaries are that are in the New Mexico side of it. So we'll have more information. I'll probably have, I did meet with the consultants for TTI. We're at the meeting in Albuquerque, so I'd like to have them come out and talk a little more about this, especially when we're talking about regional fare. What is the appropriate regional fare since, you know, higher, lower, and of course, there's lots of discussions about not having a fare. So there's a lot of different ways of looking at that. Ridership growth, the March numbers are not completely in, but I ran the numbers today that Loretta gave me. I'm estimating, based on the first couple weeks or so, we're looking at about 8,500 rides for the month, maybe a little higher. And so we're looking this year with 4 months to go, we'll be pushing pretty heavily up into that 90,000 plus. We did 85 last year, so I'm hoping, you know, it'll be a little effort. You can run the math. If we do 8,000 a month, that's 32,000. That would bring us to 95. So if we're going above that, we keep going above it, you know, it'll be close. I don't think we'll make it to 100,000, but 95,000 is pretty good, even a 10,000 rise, because a lot of transit agencies around the country aren't seeing any kind of growth at all. So it's great that we're continuing that. So we really are building on our foundation of service. This is the recent, the Pump Up event that we had at the Convention Center a few weeks ago. This bus came out, and I featured it once before. This is a Gillig bus. It's identical to what we're going to get, but different colors we'll put on it. But this bus is heading now over to, I believe, North Carolina. It does include the type of service, but in our emission bus fleet plan, we've identified the contractor, Gillig. We're working diligently with El Paso Electric. They're spending a lot of time with our maintenance manager, Al Mejares, as far as working through that. We've identified a local contractor, Diamond, I believe, which is in the Santa Teresa area. I was actually surprised we actually had a local contractor that installs these type of services on a national level. So that's kind of interesting to me. So it does tell me, I guess, the whole region is really growing in that area. And of course, the New Mexico DOT staff. And I don't know why I didn't put it on there, but I have been working very closely with the Mesilla Valley MPO. In fact, Michael McAdams has done tremendous work for us in getting the mapping and the demographic stuff that's needed through these programs. The electric charging stations is where we're at now. So what's interesting about this, typically when you buy a bus, you put in a bus order. And at some point you're in line to get built, you send your mechanic out, you walk through the thing, you sign a lot of agreements that this is what's going to be done on the bus, and you can decide your paint scheme and all those kind of things. However, now that we're doing electric, the propulsion system has changed, and so has the process. So now the BAL is balancing act. This is what we were told when that bus came to town at the end of January by our representative, Joe Saldana with Gillig. Okay, let's not do what San Antonio did. So San Antonio rushed to get the buses. So they got the buses delivered, and they're sitting there parked. There's no charging station. And right now, with all the resources being short, this, that, whatever, so they told us to move very diligently and get this thing done, which we're gonna have a presentation here in a few minutes. So we've jumped through the hoops. We've found a way to get this. So now they're pushing back the other way and say, wait a second, if you get the charging stations in by fall, which we think we will, and we don't get the vehicles until late winter or spring, then we lose 6 months of warranty. So I leave this to you that as much as we think we know, it's all still back to the old days. It's a barter system. We're trying to work with each other. So we'll figure a way to solve that. But in addition to that, on our timeline, so the charging stations is in front of the buses, which is interesting. And then training is working through that. So we're already working through a number of webinars, a lot of things on electrification for the drivers, the mechanics, and so on. The drivers will come a little later, but we'll be doing that. So again, the bus delivery is probably second quarter, maybe April is where I'm targeting. But it could go quicker if they allow us because we get the chargers sooner. So it's, again, a barter. We'll see where we come up with that. But we're excited. The staff did a great job. I think I've talked about this maybe before. I think we did in our newsletter recently. But we had 17 shelters. I'm going to give some bad news to the mayor here in a moment. So my guys decided, I thought we're going to refurbish the shelters. We'll do them in the field. It'll be fine. They said, no, we want to pick them all up, put them on a trailer, bring them into our garage in Sunland Park, and then fix them, metal, solder, God knows what they did to these things, and then repaint them. And so we decided to paint them very similar to the logo colors, and then they brought them all back out. So you can see on the right, that's a finished product. Unfortunately, my photo is not so good. I can only accomplish so much with my camera. So we got them out there. So next step was to put the solar in all of them. Some of them had some solar, so we put the first ones out there. So the first 3 that had solar, they had those ripped off about a week ago. Interesting enough, this is the opinion of my maintenance manager. They didn't steal the solar panels or the solar part or lights. They ripped them out in a way so that they can do more graffiti. So we were talking about this at the beginning of the meeting, we'll have to start working more closely on the security, and we'll have to work out some other systems. I don't want to have shelters out there where there's no lights, so if we can't do solar, then we might have to look at, light installations. It's not the kind of green movement we want, but I don't want to leave, because we do run those services in the south all the way till 10 o'clock at night. So that would mean they would be in some areas in the dark. Now, where we're in the neighborhoods, that won't be a problem. But even on the main drive, the lights are limited. I think it's McNutt as you're going through. Yeah. So we got to work through that. So good news and challenging news.
Mr. Chair, that happens in Sunland?
Yes, it's hard to believe, I know. We're not perfect, guys. We're getting there, but we're not there yet.
And not in Anthony.
So these are the 4, we're getting 4 RBOC buses next month. We've been waiting for 2.5, almost 3 years for these buses. In fact, we lost the sales rep during the course of this thing, and now the regional manager is actually in charge for us out of Phoenix, Arizona, and he's in New Mexico all the time, whatever. So he disagreed with my numbers. We went with his numbers. Then he calls me up about 3 weeks and says, okay, I'm going to have to apologize because apparently your numbers are right. Your first bus, which is now 3 years old, is on the line in front of the other 3. So we're getting 4, and we'll use the funds, some of the money from Texas to pay for that, and we have the money from New Mexico. So that's all good. These are 25-foot buses. They're smaller. The biggest thing about this, and I've featured this before, is that they have ramps on them. So really getting away from any kind of lifts, which is a huge benefit, cost, maintenance, and so on. Because the advantage of the ramp is they are electronic, but they also can be done manually. And I think that's the big benefit there. They're roughly about 18 to 20 passengers. I always get confused. I think the first one is 18 and the other 3 are 20. But they're just gonna do great. We're looking forward to it. It allows us to start planning to maybe retire some of the buses that we now have well over 325,000 miles. And those had a duty cycle of 250,000. So we're running 50,000 above, which is a full year, because this went a year longer than we had. So we're excited about that. That'll make a huge difference in our duty cycle. Any questions that I haven't hit on? So you can tell we're excited.
That's fantastic.
We've been waiting a long time for this, so the staff is excited about it as well.
And congratulations on the award too. I mean, that's
It's our award. It represents the thing. It's great because it's the first time they've done this in the state, and there's other good organizations, but I'm glad they featured us first, so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's good. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Item number 8 under action items, FY 2022 Auditor's Report, Itza Sosa from Beasley Mitchell and Company. Item 8A.
Hi, good afternoon, Mayor Perea.
So I have March 9th, 2023, Office of State Auditor Correspondence, authorization to release SCRTD. Are we doing separate actions on this, or is this?
I think we're going to let them do the presentation, and then we'll approve the resolution tied to the presentation.
Okay.
So one action.
Go ahead.
I just want to make sure everyone can hear me.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, perfect. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Itza Sosa from Beasley Mitchell and Company, the auditors for the fiscal year 22 audit report. The audit was approved and released by the state on March 9th of this year. So the copy that you have available to you is a final version of the audit report. I want to take a moment to thank Adam, Sarah, and David for their assistance with the audit process. Thank you for helping us throughout this process and for providing all the information we needed. I'll go ahead and start the presentation. The scope of the audit was from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. My responsibilities as your auditor was to provide an opinion based on your financial information. The responsibility of the district and management was for provide us with the necessary information, implement the controls of anything that's related to your financial information. The district did receive an unmodified opinion for the June 30th, 2022 fiscal year. This means this is a clean opinion. Even though there was one finding, this finding was not material enough to give you a qualified opinion. You also did qualify for a single audit, and this is because you expended more than the $750,000 in federal grants. Your opinion for the federal single audit was also a clean opinion. There was nothing that we noted wrong with the federal expenditures, so this came out as a clean, unmodified opinion. The only finding we have noted for fiscal year 22 was related to compliance with accrued leave policies. There was an instance of 2 employees who exceeded the maximum allowed accrued PTO, and this was for a total of 230 hours with those 2 employees combined. So the only recommendation we have for you is to review the policy and coordinate with your payroll service to make sure that this calculation is being done correctly. And that way they know that there's a limit on those accrued leave total hours, and this will not occur again in the following year. Are there any questions?
Let me get a motion. Let me get a motion on the floor. At this moment, I entertain a motion to approve a resolution to approve the FY 2022 audit.
So move, Gandara.
Nora Barraza,
The motion on
second.
the floor made by Councilor Gandara, seconded by Mayor Barraza. Discussion by the council, by the board.
Mr. Chair, just one question.
Madam Mayor?
So if I understand this correctly, we had 2 employees that used more leave than they had accrued? I've never heard of this one before.
I understood it the other way.
If I might,
No, ma'am, they accrued more PTO. It doesn't mean that they used it, but they have it available as accrued leave.
Oh, okay.
So they have available in excess of the limited amount, yeah.
Okay, so just to clarify it in my little brain here, so 2 employees exceeded the maximum that was allowed of 230 hours. So we have 2 employees that exceeded that amount? What is the maximum that is allowed, I guess, in leave per year?
Give me 1 second, I can give you that number.
yeah, if I might, it's 140 hours as a maximum limit.
140?
What's 140?
Okay.
Correct.
Okay, and so we had 2 employees that accrued more than the 140 hours? Is that my understanding? Yes?
That's
Yes,
correct.
that is correct.
Oh, okay. So in other words, they did not use, so basically they use or lose? Is that how, the policy we have?
That is the current policy that we do have that was adopted.
Okay. So the
So
current
they did
policy,
have the limited menu.
no, go.
I'm sorry,
I'm
I
sorry, go
didn't
ahead.
I didn't catch that on the phone.
It's a, What was your
Excuse
response?
me? No, yes, that is correct. So the current policy that you have is that you can accrue a maximum of 140 hours. Depending on the years that you are employed, there is a difference in those hours. But those employees did exceed the maximum allowed hours.
Okay, thank you for clarification. So what did staff do to correct that? I guess that's my question.
My understanding is that Adam is working with the payroll company because there is a calculation that has to be communicated to them just so they know that up to a maximum amount, that calculation has to stop accruing those hours.
That is correct. I've already, what it was is that we didn't have programmed in the accrual to go a maximum of 140. Unfortunately, they exceeded those amounts. So that has been corrected since then, and we've been working with the employees to bring those balances back down to what the level should be.
So Adam, this is Meiji Powie. I have a question. Do you notify clients, say when they reach like 120 or a number below 140 so that they're not boxed into a corner of having to use or lose?
We are auditing each employee and the balances that each employee has on a regular basis to double check that they're not even, or that the maximum that they have is the 140, if they even have that they're actually using time. So it is being audited on a regular basis now.
And if I may add one more thing. So when we brought the HR manual, personnel policy, whatever we call it, to the board for approval about 3 years ago, I think we did a slight amendment last year, kind of a refreshed and update. At the time, we had this conversation because we shifted, we combined our sick and vacation leave into PTO. So again, this is going back about 3 years, so remember it. So the other provision that the board approved was that if you get caught in a situation where you're not able to take the time off or do it, you can move it into the PRA Smart Save.
The deferred one?
Deferred comp.
The deferred comp?
So we encourage people to do that on a fairly regular basis if they're not able to take their time off. So that's one of the processes. So we have that option in place as well.
So so we had employees with about 115 hours each did they end up losing that amount? Did they lose it?
They did not lose it. And like I said, we have been able to bring those employees up to date.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? No. Seeing and hearing none, I have a motion on the floor. Debate has been exhausted. Let me have a roll call vote on the matter, please.
Javier Perea,
Yes.
Nora Barraza,
Yes.
Meiji Powie,
Yes.
Cassandra Gandara,
Yes.
Diana Murillo,
Yes.
Robert Martinez.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion carries unanimously. Item 8B has been approved. Item 9, discussion and approval of resolution of the CMAQ grant.
Yes, thank you. Again, David Armijo. So we're looking at page 11 in the packet. This was a resolution that I coordinated with the El Paso MPO, and they wanted to make sure that the numbers were correct. So we did the resolution based on the fiscal year, and so that should be, it should be fine on that. So they're just asking us to get this in. For this year, we'll come in with another resolution for fiscal years 2024 and 25. This is for the current fiscal year 2023. The resolution also will provide for buses as well as, and at this time, we're looking at 2 buses and any additional charging stations. I think there's only one in here that's needed. Each of our charging stations, if you had a chance today to look outside, it's really nice that the county has now put in a charging station. They're
Is that what
using.
that is out there?
That's
the
a
solar
charging.
panels? Oh, okay.
So it's a charging station, and actually, it's interesting because it's kind of where we're going. So that charging station, it's one station, but it has two nozzles, so it can fuel two vehicles. That one is set up for cars, but quite frankly, I looked at it very closely. That would allow us to charge our bus, by the way, Loretta. So it's interesting to see that. I could not ascertain whether that's a slow fill or fast fill. I actually think it's a fast fill, which is actually really good because I looked at the megawatts or whatever on it. It looks pretty high. So I don't think that's a overnight, because a slow fill is is what they call a stage 2, and it could take you several hours to fill. If you have a fast fill station, you can fill it within 20 minutes. So big difference, yeah, or less. Because one of the things they suggest is that you don't wait till it's empty. You charge definitely not more than half a tank. You get it charged up, it'll be quick. So a charge for half a tank probably within 10 minutes. So that would be good. But I'm really excited that the county has taken that step forward. But that's what we would have, and that's what's in here. Now, when we're working on it, I'll bring you the next resolution for fiscal years 5 and 6. With the current 3 buses that are on order at Sunland Park, that gives us fueling for 6 buses. This will give us fueling for another 2 to 4 buses. I think we're gonna have 2 more, so it'd be 5. That's enough charging for that facility. And we may hold back those if we decide to do something in Anthony, so. Anyway, but that's what we're asking you to approve today. So it's the CMAQ money from El Paso, and again, our local match to this will be 10%.
At this moment, I would entertain a motion to approve item number 9.
Mr. Chair,
Madam Mayor.
so let me just find out if I'm correct on this. So this resolution is number 24 in our packet, but I'm looking that there's another resolution on item 11 of the packet. Is that a different resolution, or is this the same resolution?
No, this is 23.
No, this is 24. I don't have 23. Okay, that's what it is. Okay.
No? Do we?
I don't see 23 in my packet, but, okay, so we have on the, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 2023-23, correct?
Yes,
Okay, I don't have that.
thank you.
That's the one I do not have. Okay.
Second, Gandara.
No. See, because I have 22 and 24.
Yeah. No,
Okay,
I didn't. Yeah, it first didn't print on the.
yeah, that's okay. Okay, thank you. And so I make that motion that we approve Resolution 2023-23.
All right. I have a resolution. I have a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
Gandara seconded.
Yeah? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't catch it. The motion has been seconded by Councilor Gandara. Is there any other discussion? Seeing and hearing none, let me have a roll call on the matter, please.
Javier Perea,
Yes?
Nora Barraza,
Yes.
Meiji Powie,
Yes,
Cassandra Gandara,
Yes.
Diana Murillo,
Yes.
Robert Martinez.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion carries unanimously. Item number 9 has been approved. Item number 10, discussion of electric charging stations purchase.
Good afternoon. My name is Sara Vasquez, Chief Procurement Officer, for the record. And just basically good news for the charging stations. We're currently working with consultants for advice from different entities with GILIC. We're trying to do the state vendors and all. And we're working with El Paso Electric Company. They have been recommending, advising, meeting with us, helping to make this possible. We're also looking for 3 charging stations, and each can charge 2 vehicles. And we're hopeful to receive this for the fall of 2023 and be fully ready, hopefully, for spring 2024. And we're looking at all qualifications, working along with the New Mexico Department of Transportation, coordinating with them for review of purchase order, federal clauses to make sure we're in compliance. We're also working with consultants from New Mexico Department of Transportation for advice, approvals, and we are hopeful to be successful for this project. And it's just still developing. But I stand for any questions you may have.
Any questions by the board?
None?
All right.
Just want to say, I don't think I'm going to do very good with the electric cars. I always wait till the very last minute to do gas up and stuff, and then I don't have patience to wait, so I'm not going to do very good.
Well, at least when you come to the county building, you can charge.
Well, I'm in here.
I recommend you do a solar panel then.
There you go. Much, much better, yes.
Yes, and I just want to say thank you for, to David, our grant writer. He took a huge part on the award. We are very, very proud, that he brought this home. And yes, it's a teamwork, but with his leadership, we're just very
It
blessed.
just took me 39 years to get the experience to do it.
You know what?
I make a footnote.
I think you can make
Thank
a
you.
career out of this, David. You keep that up.
I have one last question. How much are the chargers? I mean, for each unit?
We did the purchase order for 2. Do you recall? I can pull up the number right now, but
It's actually
I think our total was 280 something.
three. What I know is we came in
280 something for
80,000 under
2,
budget.
So that's about 178, 170 around. I'm just throwing a number.
Oh, okay.
Roughly,
I'm just
roughly
curious for
number.
the town of Mesilla also, so.
Okay.
Okay.
I can provide you
Okay.
with the number. Let me look it up, but roughly at 170 something. to
That's
280.
not too bad. Okay, thank you. And did I make a motion?
No, that's just a discussion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're doing a discussion today. We'll come back with a more definitive one. But we felt it was important, as you've seen through the presentations today, a lot's happening. We just want to keep the board aware.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah.
So that's chump change for a Messia, right? Right? All right. Item number 11, approval of a resolution to receive funding from the Federal Transit Administration and to commit local funding to support Section 5307 grant funds from FY 2022 and FY 2023.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion, we approve Resolution 2023-24.
I have a motion on the floor made by Mayor Barraza. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Mayor Murillo. Would like to hear a preamble to this? No, is there
me?
more? Is there more?
Oh, yes. Let me try to tee this up because there's easy to get confusion. So these are operating and capital funds as one. This is a document that's been written by me with help from 3 different, I always call them the millennials from the El Paso MPO. So they're very smart young men and engineers and planners, whatever. But I had this as 2 pages. I got it down to 1. So what's behind us and why are we doing it? And why does it say fiscal year 23 and I think it says 22 and 23. So 2022 is the money that we're still trying to get released from the FTA in Fort Worth. And so this is the money that we came for last year. But they wanted me to reinforce with the board's commitment that the agreement that we have with Sun Metro has to do with the service expansion policy, which is in the second line of the resolution. And it's to provide sufficient local funding and support for the 5307 grant funds. Now, fiscal 22 is the $696,000. Fiscal year 23 is $711,000. I've already submitted a letter to them to release those funds, but we're now in the process of doing this resolution. I'm going to be asking for letters of support from the mayor of Anthony, the mayor of Sunland Park, and maybe even Las Cruces, as well as Mesilla, because they want to make sure that we have local commitment. Now, I did mention we've been doing this for 7 years, and we've been getting funding and carrying people, but apparently that's not enough. So I'm going to need all of you to help support me. I'll get those letters out for you all to take a look at and sign off. So this is, very much a bureaucratic exercise, but I do think, though, it's beneficial because it gives us an opportunity to reflect that not only are we working on the big capital on the buses, but we're also working on operating. The other thing is that we're really fortunate that El Paso, this is from a $14 million fund. We get a portion of that, the 700,000 plus or minus. But luckily, El Paso is using all their money for capital. And that frees us up to use a lot more money for operating. And that allows us to go into the swap. We can use operating for fuel, labor, facilities, and so on. And so we're hoping to get that cash flow rolling through that. So today we're asking you, in a way, I'm asking you to reaffirm your commitment from last year as well as a commitment going forward this next year to the tune of If you combine the two, it'd be 1.4 million. That's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Chair?
Madam Mayor?
I have a question. And, okay, and forgive me, just so much is in my brain right now. But, so when they're talking about the local match, where did you say we're getting the local match from?
For this particular grant, and that's a good question, it's actually in our MOA, Memorandum of Agreement with the county, Doña Ana County.
With the county?
So it connects with any grants that we would get, both operating and capital. So that's a presentation I'll be making to their board next month, and I'll be sharing that with our board. I'm days away from finishing the submission to them. We're actually a little early this year, though. I think we're doing April 11th. But yes, that's where that local match will be. Now, we haven't received, I did get a commitment from Joanne Farrar for $100,000 for the coming year for capital, and I did get a commitment from others, but I haven't seen the numbers yet, the total numbers. We're expecting, I asked for $475,000, which is more than enough money for the first year or two. But if we get $300,000 plus the county money, and we have a $200,000 DFA money carryover, we should have plenty of money. The other thing too is I expect that we're still going to spend several months on the resolution you just approved. That still has to go through what they call the STIP, the State Transportation Improvement Plan, which has to take 2 or 3 months, and that's to go through various boards. Then it's got to go over to the feds before they can put that in trams where we can get federal funding. They're estimating that's probably September. So we haven't even ordered any of the money that's in here. We're not even touching that. So in each of these years that we get it, we have it for 6 years. So right now our focus is the facility and those first 3 buses. We believe we have more than enough local match for that. Beyond that, we can push out for another year.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I have a motion on the floor. It was seconded. It has been exhausted. We have a roll call vote on the matter, please.
Javier Perea,
Yes?
Nora Barraza,
Yes.
Meiji Powie,
Yes.
Cassandra Gandara,
Yes.
Diana Murillo,
Yes.
Robert Martinez.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion carries unanimously. Item number 11 has been approved. Going on to the closed session items, under 12 is closed session item, okay. Okay, the exceptions are discussion of the purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property as authorized by the Open Meetings Act 1015-1H8, NMSA 1978, and also number 2, personnel items or matters as authorized by the Open Meetings Act 1015-1H2 and 5. And that's with regards to the executive director. At this moment, I want to take a motion to go into closed session.
Mr. Chair, I make that motion?
Madam Mayor, I have a motion from Madam Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been seconded by Mayor Murillo. Let me have a roll call vote on the matter, please.
Javier Perea,
Yes?
Nora Barraza,
Yes.
Meiji Powie,
Yes.
Cassandra Gandara,
Yes.
Diana Murillo,
Yes.
Robert Martinez.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion carries unanimously. We are in closed session. I have 2:15 p.m. It should be muted.
Yeah, 1 hour.
No, not too bad, not too bad. Yeah, so, well, we can do about 3:30 the latest at the most, but we're okay, we're okay. All right, and we are now back in open session. Let the record show that only those items on the agenda were discussed and that no decision was made in closed session. That puts us back on item number 13 of the agenda. Any board comments? No? No? All right. Seeing and hearing none, then we have completed the business of this meeting. I have 2:29 PM. If there's no objection, we are adjourned.